Hi there and welcome to today's topic, search engine optimization, or as we call it, how to rank #1 with Google. It's kind of what everybody wants to know when they're getting into their websites. My name is Jason Olson. I'm the founder of ProactiveWeb.net. I've got 18 years as an internet developer, 14 years as an information technology engineer. Got certifications in things like MCSE, Cisco, Citrix, and a CIW web professional. What is SEO? And then why should it matter to your website? Who should be handling my SEO? When should I address SEO? And how do I improve my search rank? We should probably back up and mention that this is a 101 based course. It's based for anybody that has a website, looking into doing a website. It's kind of new to it. This is non-technical in nature, but of course if you are a technical person, a web developer or programmer, there's probably some good value in here for you as well. But this is really targeted at the everyday person with a website. So what is SEO? SEO stands for Search Engine Optimization. That's simply the process of optimizing your website so that it can be properly found by website search engines, and thus enabling people to find your website. The term popular right now is Googling, people Googling your website, and that's really what it is. Someone types in some keywords or some words, description words, and how do they find it? It's tantamount to looking back to when you'd go to the library and you'd go to look it up in the card catalog system to find something by a subject. This is the modern way to find things. And people search using things like Google or Yahoo to find your website. Asking how to rank #1 is the wrong question. It is also the most frequently asked question that we get about SEO or about any website that we help put together. The right question really is, what should I rank? The first thing is start back and ask yourself, in the scope of the entire World Wide Web, what is the importance of my content? Certainly your website has an audience, and that audience might be local, like you might run a local mom and pop shop. It might be national, it might be international. But step back and think for a moment of all the millions of websites out there. How should you really rank? And let's look at the word Apple. If I typed in the word Apple into Google or Yahoo, when someone searches for Apple, what are they really looking for? The search engine, Yahoo or Google, has to go through a lot of thought to think about, are you talking about Apple, the fruit? Perhaps the record label, Apple Records? The Big Apple, like in New York, or Apple, the name of a computer, a predecessor to the Macintosh, or Apple, the corporation founded by the late Steve Jobs. So we need to step back and look, what is the real relevance of my website? And then, does my current website represent that relevance? You see, search engines are designed to be very complex, mathematical and semantical algorithms to determine the relevance of a website to a particular query. So when someone types something in, it is evaluating your website and how that places and how important it is and how well of a match that means to the person looking for it. So when I search for Apple computer, what does the searcher want to know? And can the engine display the relevant links to the website? So you type in Apple computer, it has to know what web pages to display, what's relevant. Search engines are not people. They're designed by people, they're programmed by people, but they're really machines. And the machines are designed to evaluate your website and to judge on how well that's going to suit the people that are searching for something. When search engines were first developed, websites were allowed to define for themselves their relevance to a particular subject. Basically, it says that I could tell other people what my website was about and who it's relevant to. Unfortunately, there have been unscrupulous people that have attempted to undermine that and have been trying ever since. And the more people ask to be #1 without first asking, should they, they're really contributing to this problem. While most of you probably came into this thinking that you want to be #1, you realize that everybody is vying for the top. And that process of trying to vie for the top is knocking someone off the first spot. And they may actually be more relevant than yourself. So that's why we need to ask ourselves, should we be #1? In response to people trying to vie for the top spot, perhaps inaccurately, search engines are working ever diligently to detect these attempts to undermine the trust system and put their website on top. So, ask yourself, if you sold an Apple Macintosh or say an iPad, you sold iPads, that was your business, what sort of value would it bring to you as a company to show up first when someone searched for iPad? That could be millions of dollars in extra revenue. Think about that. If you sold it, say you were, whether it's a mom and pop or a big shop that sold iPads and you wanted to sell, the person that gets the #1 spot is going to do a lot of business in selling iPads. And everybody who sells iPads wants to show up #1. And so what the search engines have to do is figure out, do you really deserve to be number one? Who really deserves to be number one? Typically, the answer in this case is going to be Apple Computer Corporation themselves and their page on iPads. But coming shortly after that will become other people that sell iPads, which might be a place like Macworld or PC Mall or Best Buy, Fry's Electronics, or even Radio Shack. And those places, everybody's vying for that spot. And so Google and Yahoo are trying very diligently to make sure that people aren't doing anything illegitimately. I would say that big box stores legitimately belong at the top. Do you legitimately belong above Apple Computer Corporation? Sure, you want to, but is it legitimate? So we have to stop and say, do we belong there? There's a sort of cat and mouse game going on with search engines and web designers. They are trying to be one step ahead. The search engines are trying to be on top of those people trying to get illegitimate gains, and web designers are always trying to be on top. If you did a simple search for SEO or search engine optimization, you'll get hundreds of thousands of pages about SEO. And a large portion of those will be selling you services to help you rank number one. And the reality is you don't have to hire someone else. In fact, they will not really work permanently. They're kind of like a diet pill, immediate results, but not long lasting. If it is so complex, should it matter? Why should we be doing it? Well, we've already discussed if you sold Apple products, you would value coming out on top. But what if you're not an e-commerce website? What if you don't even sell products online? Maybe you have a blog. Consider this. Most people between the ages of 18 to 35 search 70% of the time for a website to establish it's a legitimate business. This might even be a jeweler or an insurance company. There is also, between that age bracket, they're 75% more likely to search for a service they need than look in a phone book or even ask a friend. Say you need repairs for your car, you're going to search on the internet. Also consider, if you're simply a blogger, someone providing free information, there's no tangible product. Not only are you not selling online, but you're not even selling some sort of business product. You should use SEO because it's more likely someone will find your website. After all, you're providing free information. You want people to view that information. The greater value is also attributed for the information you provide. Your value as both an individual and as a website. Your reputation, so to speak, is increased by having good search rankability. I've worked with several people that have sold their websites to others, or even just sold their information to other like-minded companies for tens or thousands of dollars. Part of what plays on that attractiveness is, well, how well known are you on the internet? Let's even step back and take a look at Google. They started off with a free product, completely free, and they made zero money from it. They have a product that was worthwhile and people found out about it. And now a company which started off as a free service on the NASDAQ has a market capitalization of $208 billion. So that's taking a free service. Now, they've added things where they make money off of it, but they started off as a free service. And the biggest place that they got value from was people finding out and then using their free service. So why should it matter to your website? The bottom line is your website has value. Otherwise, why even have one? And since it has value, you should maximize the value by enabling people to find it. So then we ask, who should be handling your SEO? Should you be hiring from a firm? Perhaps you pay one of these service companies, or maybe you're able to handle it yourself. Let's break those down a bit. I would say that there are those businesses which you see ads for and have promises of high rewards. Then there are those which provide what I will consider consultative services, more of a partnership requiring work from both you and them. And then there is you using some of the tips provided here. I would caution you about anyone who has promises of great reward with little effort at a discount price. They are again like the diet pill, immediate results, but not long lasting. Let me contrast that with a consultative service or approach to give you a better idea of what you're looking for. A consultative service should give you realistic expectations. Good results take time, and no spot is guaranteed. They also require input and work from your part. They cannot guess at what makes your website, company, or content unique compared to other companies on the internet. I would say that there can be value in purchasing the services of a third party. There is definitely a lot of value which can come out of these. I would suggest that you need to start off with doing it yourself. A consultative approach also contains things like this. They will work with you over time to establish a relationship and work towards steady long-term growth. They will charge you a fee over time, perhaps by hour, per month, or per quarter. And they will constantly be making minor course corrections which are empowered by objective information, such as statistics and other tools they may use to determine how well you're performing. In short, there's no black box, there's no secrets. Just like losing weight, it requires eating right and exercise, overtime, and consistent attention. And that's why we would suggest that you can do it on your own, at least a large portion of it. A large portion of what you'll spend your time and money with a consultant can first be done on your own, even without their input, much like getting your general education out of the way before going to a university. Doing your homework, and then if you still want to go to a higher level, call on the professional consultants who can help refine things even better. So, just like losing weight, the best time is right now. Get out your note-taking device and let's start working today. How do we do it? Where do you start? The first thing is to go back to the question, what value do I bring to the internet as a whole? If you're a mom and pop shop bakery in rural California, what relevance do you have to the world? What would be the appropriate context for your business? I would suggest that wanting best blueberry pie is probably not a really relevant term for your business, unless of course perhaps you sold nationally or internationally. But perhaps coffee shops in Reading, blueberry pie in Reading, etc. would be more relevant terms for you. First, establish how you want to legitimately be found. Again, those terms, those phrases, what words do you want associated with your business? Perhaps it's a marketing term that you're already used established with you, like the term Seattle's best. Second, you need to understand where you currently are rank-wise on the major search engines. How else will you know if you're doing good or if what you're doing is actually hurting your search ranking? So type those words into a Google search engine or Yahoo or the search engines that matter to you. Count down how far you are down on the page. And after you get past the 10th page, you can just forget it and don't worry about it. Our goal is to definitely get you up above 10, the 10th page that is, regardless of what business you have. Then take a look at your website from the eyes of a search engine. Does the content of your website contain relevant information pertaining to how you want to be found? If you want to be found as coffee shops in Reading, do those words even appear on your website? Sometimes I see websites with the name Bill and Diane's, and then their menu, but nowhere is the city, Reading, or the words coffee shop. So then begin to think about how you can add these relevant pieces of information to your website that contains words or phrases that are relevant. So again, make sure your website has Bill and Diane's coffee shop in Reading, or best little coffee shop in Reading, or best blueberry in Reading, or coffee cake in Reading. In general, the more you use these words or phrases across your website, the better the results you receive. However, I'll caution, they must be relevant, legitimate uses of those words within the valuable content or text. Just don't throw it anywhere, but use it if you get customers that write reviews. Make sure those reviews contain the words that you want to have in there. If you have a menu, make sure that the menu lists, if say you have a Reading special, hey, Reading special. On your bio, sometimes on an about page, whether it's a coffee shop or on your own bio, put, Jason Olson from Silicon Valley, now relocated to Reading. Boy, those words really make a difference. It's adding relevant words to your website in context, but also contain the words that are relevant to your website. If you want to be known, for example, I'm in Reading right now, rural Reading, but I want to be known that we do services in Red Bluff, then we might contain a special page on our website talking about perhaps here are some of the websites that we've done for companies in Red Bluff, California. And then you might say the city of Red Bluff's website and a little bit about them. Or perhaps information about the services in Tehama County, which is the county that Red Bluff is contained within. Or perhaps you might talk about another business that's in Red Bluff and perhaps give their address. Maybe their website is simply Red Bluff Coffee Company. Having those things in your website, again, that have value and are legitimate uses of the word, add value to the website. However, if they aren't valuable and they aren't legitimate, it's something otherwise called keyword stuffing. And some search engines will penalize you. Keyword stuffing is just throwing in the term willy-nilly on your page so that it shows up on your page, but it really has no value to someone reading the page. It's purely there for the purpose of search engines. And those don't really add any value to your website from an end user. Search engines have caught on to that, and they start to penalize people for doing that. In other words, just don't say best coffee shop in Reddit on every single page. Next, you need to ensure that your website has current, fresh information. The frequency really doesn't matter as much as the pace you can keep up with. It could be daily, weekly, monthly, or even quarterly. But find a rhythm that you can keep with it. They want to see fresh information. Google and other search engines consider stale information to be of less value. And while in some contexts, think of perhaps printed books in a library, it isn't accurate. For the most part, on the internet, it is very true. There are two ways you can keep changing your website. One is to update existing information. That might be updating prices, hours. The second is adding new information to your website. So we'll take a look at that a bit more. Updating information looks like checking your website and adjusting your prices, hours of operation, specials, perhaps your employees. It's very frequent. I can go to just about any business, take a look at their listing of employees, and they are outdated. They have new employees that aren't listed, and they have former employees that are still on their website. Real simple. Set it on your calendar every quarter. Take a look at your website. At a very minimum, every quarter you should look at your website, evaluate the pages to make sure it has current information. Just get rid of the old, introduce new information where appropriate. The second thing is adding new information. That looks like something like a blog or current news relevant to your website. A bakery which posts new recipes online. A travel agency which posts airport delays. Those are very valid, relevant information for the people that are viewing those websites. And it's definitely something you can have on there. Blogs might also be things like commentary or announcements of new performances that are coming up. All of those are relevant information that you can add or update periodically. The first two are the biggest and easiest to do. Relevant articles and current articles. From here it becomes much more technical and more difficult, but even completing the first two will make a significant impact on your search ranking. The next thing is to get other websites to link to you, but these need to come from reputable sources. And forget about Facebook and MySpace, as those were just skipped over. They contain a flag called nofollow. Another place we see spam is in places such as any sort of a wiki or any sort of a blog where you post comments. By and large, those are all skipped over. It used to be that those would add value, no longer. You need websites like yours or affiliates which you have an actual relationship with. So this might look like a bakery whose website references a coffee shop, or a community center which recommends a caterer. Perhaps a community center or facility that you use that might link back to your website because you rent their facility. In general, the more other websites link to you, the better. However, they need to come from legitimate websites like yours, which provide value to people that read them. Avoid something called link exchanges, which can hurt your position. Link exchanges are just these random associations of people that have no real business relationship who simply put links to each other's websites. There used to be value in it. Google now has become much smarter to realize that you're linking not out of any sort of good affiliation, but rather that you're just trying to help improve each other's search rank, and that really doesn't help at all. So link exchanges, any offers you see for link exchanges, by and large, you want to avoid them. In fact, I've received tons of emails about businesses wanting to do link exchanges with our websites. We simply avoid that. Again, that's not to discourage you from linking out or receiving links from businesses that are relevant. In fact, I should add here, while there's no slide for this, and this isn't an advertisement necessarily, but in California we use AT&T as our primary phone carrier out here, and a lot of businesses publish in the print ad the Yellow Pages. The Yellow Pages has an online directory as well, and for a small fee, monthly fee, you can have your website listed and linked from their website. What I found surprisingly is this actually significantly improves your website ranking on their search engines. It's under $100. You have to check in your area. Again, we're not trying to sell you a service, but I've been really, really shocked to see the results and how good of an effect that has. But again, that still goes back to a legitimate website. The digital version of the Yellow Pages, the printed Yellow Pages, is a legitimate directory, and their electronic version is legitimate. and it is a resource people count on and use to find businesses. And so it's kind of a old school version of a search engine. Those directories still hold high value, and having your website linked from them also has high value. Although in general I would never recommend or suggest that you pay to have your website name shown anywhere. You do want to avoid link exchanges. Listing in a directory such as the Yellow Pages or your local phone book directories online edition can add value. The last tip from improving search ranking is probably the hardest, and that is to ensure that your website conforms to the W3C standards. Basically, search engines say, if you don't take the time to write your website properly, we won't value it as much. Think of it as saying you judge a book by its cover. If the publisher doesn't take time to use high quality materials, then we value it less. That's the same for websites. If your website doesn't meet standards, then it will have less value. And for this, talk to the person who did your website. Ask them to show you if it meets W3C standards. And it's really simple. You can actually Google sometimes W3C validator and then type in your website address, and it will show you whether your website is valid or invalid and how far it deviates. I wouldn't go so far as to say that if it doesn't pass 100% W3C that you're going to have problems. But I will say that the more errors you have, it does penalize your web search ranking. Also, another comment on that is that if you're using an off-the-shelf, what we call CMS or content management system, those are things like WordPress, Drupal, Joomla. Those typically do deviate from W3 standards from time to time. If they have minor variances, I wouldn't worry as much. If there are major variances, then you'll have problems. Things to consider in order for search rank improvement is, first of all, relevant content. And I'll put in there also, I'll amend that to also remind you that that talks about keywords. So you want to make sure your keywords also contain content. Your content contains the keywords that are relevant to your company. Recent content. Recent content is material that's up to date. Both that your static information, like your staff pages or contact information, is up to date, as well as adding new information. Third is inbound links, or what we call referrals. And the fourth is ensuring you have a technically accurate website. When we do SEO for other businesses, the one we spend the most amount of time with is the first one. And that's why it's the most important. Relevant content. Taking a look at your website. Does it accurately represent your company? And does it have the words that are relevant to how you want to be found? And then the second one is recent content, working with companies to help them ensure that their content is recent. That takes the form of us in some managed cases where we call the clients monthly or quarterly to help them post or adjust their website. And the second thing is to provide some subscription services. We do provide some services for recent content that provide our staff writing content, new content, original content for your website so that it looks like your website is having current relevant information. But even in those cases, these are original contents specifically for your website that is relevant to your industry. It's just not spurious or random information. But again, we step back and take a look. All of these show value for your company. And if the techniques of a company aren't showing value for your website and aren't establishing that your company is valuable, then the methods that they're using won't have long-lasting effects, and they'll be found out later. So these elements are not only the basic fundamentals, but will save you hundreds on consulting fees. I personally have taken multiple websites using essentially these techniques alone and not spending a single dollar on any sort of affiliate, search engine submission, or any other fee to bring these websites to a sustainable top 5 position for their relevant keywords. It has taken around a year for each of these websites, but they have maintained that position for many, many years. And again, 0 fees paid to third parties. The only thing that was involved was labor. And when we talked back at the list, relevant content was the biggest and most time-consuming element, and that's something that you can probably do a large majority on your own without needing to hire anybody. So as you can see, there's a bit of immediate work as well as ongoing work. And if you have to ask yourself, how can a business make me number one for only $50 or even $500? See the amount of work. They're cutting corners, they're using several tricks that are out there that will give you temporary great results. but you're going to find yourself spending $50 very frequently or $500 very frequently. Just to warn you, consulting-based services cost much more than this, but can yield long-lasting, better results. Let's go back in summary. SEO is important for any website. You already have the tools after watching this to make a positive change now, and you don't need to pay hundreds to someone to get started. And today is the best day to start. And the simplest way to get results is to think about how you are evaluating what is valuable to you, and then ensure that your website is providing that value by having relevant content, recent content, references or inbound links, and have a good cover or technically sound when we talk about judging a book by its cover. Thank you so much for your time. I hope you've learned all sorts of valuable tools from this and that it's a good resource to you. We'd love to hear about your success stories. Feel free to hit the comment section wherever you see this video, and we'd be happy to talk to you about it more. Once again, this is Jason from Proactive IT and ProactiveWeb.net. Let me bring up my page here real quick, and there's our website again, ProactiveWeb.net. And feel free to go to that website and hit the contact us. You can send us your stories. You can also contact us about any questions you may have, as well as contact us for consulting services. We'd be happy to help you take your website to the next level, whether that is on a professional basis or even just kind of give you a refresher or just give you a quick summary of what we're seeing with your website. We're happy to help you from a do-it-yourself perspective or help you from a professional consulting services. Thank you so much for your time and have a great day.